What's going on, peeps? It's Nick Johnson back here with another video. Favorite sports YouTube journalist here. And in today's video, there's like a lot to unpack here. So, first off, we're going to talk baseball related. Because yesterday, as I was on my lunch, I got word that all-star third baseman and arguably the best defending third baseman in the modern era, in Nolan Arenado, got traded from the Colorado Rockies to the St. Louis Cardinals for a whole bevy of prospects. Now, of course, Arenado's future in Colorado was uncertain after the season that he's had. Colorado basically falling off a cliff after he signed that massive 8-year, $260 million extension that he signed after the 2018 season, like before the start of 2019. And the Rockies have not been the same since. They've just been on an absolute tailspin, you know? So his future was up in question. And, of course, his relationship with the front office deteriorated after they threw him around in trade rumors last offseason, including at some parts during last season. So, yeah, it was a really awkward and tight situation from that point on. Plus, he's owed for like over $30 million in each of his next several seasons because he just completed the first 2 years of his massive extension, which includes opt-out clauses for after this season and the season after, you know? So that plays a lot of factor. Plus, he owns a full-on no-trade clause in his contract, which can basically dictate to exactly where he wants to be traded to. So, and now since he's been traded to the Cardinals, he can possibly waive that no-trade clause and allow the move to St. Louis to happen as we speak. And for him, from what we got, he was elated about the news that they agreed to a deal with St. Louis. So, fresh start for him, obviously. And with that move, he'll form arguably the best infield duo we've seen in a long time. Pair him with first baseman Paul Goldschmidt. And of course, we all remember Paul Goldschmidt being the superstar, dynamite first baseman with the Arizona Diamondbacks for the last decade before he got traded to St. Louis before the start of 2019. So, pair him, Arenado, and Goldschmidt. Those are some real top-heavy bats that is going to give teams nightmare to think about. Top four orders in the lineup, so projecting Goldschmidt to go third and Arenado to back cleanup. So, and it's going to be interesting team to watch to see where he goes. Because the last team that was interested in him was possibly the Mets, but they already traded for Francisco Lindor. And the Rockies' division rival, the reigning World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, had expressed interest in Arenado, but of course the Rockies were unwilling to trade him within their division, and rightfully so, because otherwise we would have been like a legitimate super team as a result. So, yeah, it is what it is. I would love to have him. Even my mother would like to have him, but it is what it is. Plus, speaking of the Dodgers, we still have a hole at third base we need to address in case Justin Turner don't come back, because both sides are at an impasse. The Dodgers are willing to give Turner a 2-year deal while Justin wants a 4-year deal. So, it's kind of looking more and more likely that it's kind of like it's reaching an end. So, anyways, that's just a brief moment. But yeah, Arenado to St. Louis, interesting to watch. So, and now we're going to shift to football related, because as we all know, for the last several days, we've been getting a lot of stories on the quarterbacks around the NFL regarding Desean Watson, potentially Aaron Rodgers, even though that might be shut down for a while, and Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. As we all know, after Green Bay's season-ending loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game, there was questions of Rodgers' uncertainty in Green Bay. And he even kind of said that himself, even though their general manager pretty much shut that down a little bit, because it's been reported that Rodgers wants a raise in his contract, and deservedly so, considering the fact of all that he's done for them. Because he currently has 2 years left in his deal that'll last after 2022 or 2023. It's one of the two. And I think he has an opt-out clause in his contract. I don't know if that's true, but you gotta look to know exactly where they can go beyond next season. So, because it all started when the Packers drafted Jordan Love in the first round overall in last year's draft out of Utah, or Utah State, out of Utah. And that basically was a big question mark because we all expected them to draft a big-time wide receiver at least. But instead, they went the quarterback route, so expected maybe, but it was a little shocker. So you had that. You had Desean Watson, arguably one of the best young quarterbacks this league has ever seen, who had a career-high year, over 4,800 yards passing and 33 touchdowns, both career highs for him. But his Houston Texans have been an absolute disaster. They finished 4-12. They started off 0-5 under Bill O'Brien, who was their head coach and general manager before they fired him after that start, thank God. And the way things have gone on in Houston and getting new coaches and a new general manager is basically forced his hand on wanting to be traded out of Houston, because the ownership was promising him involvement in the head coach and general manager search, which he would like to partake in to see if who would be like the right candidates for him to be the next GM and next head coach. So, of course, Watson had a couple of head coaches in mind, like Robert Saleh before he got the head coaching gig in New York with the Jets, and Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, who basically turned Patrick Mahomes into a freak of nature, as we all know him to be right now. So, but they went against the Texans. Instead, went against the grain, and basically, without Watson's consent, have basically hired a former director of player personnel, Nick Caserio, from the New England Patriots, my New England Patriots. Also, good luck to you, Nick. And basically hired him without his consent, so that basically drew his ire. And Caserio went on to hire former Baltimore Ravens assistant coach David Culley as their next head coach. And how this all transitioned without Watson's involvement has pretty much forced his hand to be traded. Now, of course, Caserio openly stated that he has no plans on trading Watson. It depends on how far Watson's willing to let this go on. Like, is he gonna give him a chance at least, or does he still feel bitter and wants to take this to another level? Now, the teams that will be inclined to his services are both the New York Jets, who I might mention, because Watson wanted them to interview with Saleh before he got the head coaching gig over there, and the Miami Dolphins, who are willing to swap places with Tua Tagovailoa, which I believe is kind of crazy because considering the Dolphins just drafted Tua, then again, anything can happen, but I just think it's like way too early for them to pull a move as that. You just got to give them time to develop. You know what I'm saying? Considering the fact that Miami still doesn't have an offensive coordinator, as we all know it. So, yeah, I'm kind of a little iffy on that. But those are the teams that are interested in Watson's services if Houston is willing to pull the plug on it. But I don't think that's going to happen. So, I mean, New York, it kind of makes the most sense because they have like a bevy of first-round picks for these upcoming two drafts. This upcoming one in April and, of course, next year's draft. So they can use that to their advantage, including the second overall pick that they own for this year's draft. Considering the fact that they lost out on their chance to draft Trevor Lawrence, number one overall, the question is, like, now what for the Jets? So there's a lot of options to go about. And also another set of options, you got Detroit Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford. Because it was like earlier in the playoffs or during the week of the conference title games, Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions have agreed to part ways with one another. And first, before they think about trading him, they put Stafford on the trade market to see where they can go with that. And from what I've been told, or rather heard and read from the articles, there's been a lot of interest in Stafford's services. Concerning the fact that he's owed like over $20 million in his contract for these next 2 seasons. And he can still play in an elite high level. So, of course, the Lions were the Lions. They just couldn't do anything under Stafford's services. They basically just wasted his talents, as we can kind of possibly say. But like, he's been only to the playoffs twice with the Lions. In 2011, where they lost badly against New Orleans, which was expected, and in 2014 against the Dallas Cowboys. We all saw how that turned up. I mean, hell, he would have been 1-1 had he not been screwed. No, 1-2, excuse me. At least a playoff win had he not been screwed in that Cowboys game. And of course, me and my mom would agree, because she's a Niner fan, she hates the Cowboys, and we all saw how that happened. So, yeah, he got screwed in that one. So, but yeah, they just couldn't do anything. Even with Stafford at the helm, they just couldn't do anything to get him over that hump. You know what I'm saying? So, and there was a scenario earlier this week that the Lions were interested in trading away Stafford to the Rams, because the Rams had interest in him, even though they had Jared Goff on their heels. And Goff is already on a massive contract extension himself. And he's owed over $20 million as well. But if they trade him away now, then they're going to lose over $20 million in dead cap money. So, and you have to be thinking, like, why would you trade away Jared Goff? I mean, he got you out to a Super Bowl. That's the same thing I said. But there was like another article that I just read, and the play that we've seen from Jared Goff for the last 2 seasons pretty tells you exactly where this might gonna go. Because after the Rams got beat down, I wouldn't say beat down, but lost a defensive stalemate to the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 53 2 seasons ago, Goff's play has been waning in the last 2 seasons. Because over 31 regular season starts, he's thrown an alarming 29 interceptions. I mean, he's good when he's in a Sean McVay scheme, but outside of that, he tends to be inconsistent and force plays that are like unnecessary. Kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo in a way. So, and yeah, so the Rams trying to trade away Jared Goff, who they're looking to see if anybody was willing to take him on. It's kind of a good look. So if they trade him now, they're going to lose over $20 million dead money, and that's going to be difficult for them to bring on Matthew Stafford. So I don't know. So yeah. And then speaking of Jimmy Garoppolo, the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, his future in San Francisco is uncertain. Now, my mother can't stand him. As a Patriot fan, I still don't know why the hell we trade him to San Francisco for just a second-round pick. But that's what happened. I mean, the only good season he's had was taking him to the Super Bowl last season, but that's about it. But, yeah. Speaking of which, you want to get your 2 cents in?
I have nothing to say.
Yeah. Me and my mom are on our way to the dentist right now as I'm talking about this, so yeah. She can't stand him. I would love to have him back. So yeah, because he's been good in Kyle Shanahan's system when they designed the plays for him to make. But when he tries to make a play outside of it, when it's busted or whatnot, he throws a lot of interceptions, and it's really unnecessary. So I think his future in San Francisco is kind of uncertain, and he's on a massive contract himself. So if they trade him now, because this is like what? Gonna be his 3rd season into his current deal that he's on? Something like that? Yeah.
3rd or 4th.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th deal into it. Because we traded him away to San Francisco for a 2nd-round pick during the 2017 trade deadline, when the Patriots made the Super Bowl and then lost to Philadelphia. As soon as after that season ended, he signed a massive 5-year extension with over $130 million, which I think was crazy because even though he was undefeated in those final games in San Fran, it still wasn't even enough time for him to prove exactly what kind of quarterback he was. Even my mother wasn't sold to him at that time.
I wasn't sold on it when they acquired him.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can understand that they needed a quarterback, but
He wasn't a good fit for our system.
yeah, he kind of wasn't.
He takes too many sacks.
Yeah.
Throw the damn ball away.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be commenting. He's sucking in.
I wasn't trying to. Like, I was just basically, having that in there. And of course, it's a way for the audience to discuss it as well in the comment section. So, yeah. That was my mom basically giving her 2 cents on Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, she couldn't stand him. And she still can't stand him, so. But I don't know if it's as bad as she couldn't stand Alex Smith back in the day, because she hated him. Trust me.
Didn't want him in the draft either.
Yeah. She wanted Aaron Rodgers, but yet, boneheadedly, Mike Nolan passed him up. So, yeah. But it is what it is. Times have changed since then. So, anyways, back to the subject. There's no question where Garoppolo's going to end up if San Francisco decides to cut bait with him. So, from what I heard, they might just lose $2.8 million in dead money if they decide to cut or trade him, which is a real big financial saver, because I think San Francisco's kind of like up against the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and he accumulates a huge chunk of that, so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And another teams that are like quarterback needy in a way involve the New Orleans Saints and the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Colts are like an obvious glaring hole in the quarterback, because Phillip Rivers, the future Hall of Famer, had just retired last week during the conference title week, giving us an amazing 17-year Hall of Fame career as we all know it. But the only glaring hole that he had was that he never got to a Super Bowl. He'd been to a conference title game once, which was all the way back in the 2007 season against the undefeated New England Patriots, where he was playing on a torn ACL. That was it. That's the furthest he's ever gotten in the playoffs. And he spent all of last season, of course, he spent 16 Hall of Fame career years with the San Diego Chargers. LA Chargers. Well, before he spent all of last season as the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback. So, with him gone, their quarterback need is a glaring issue. And there's like a couple of first-round quarterbacks that I'll probably mention in another video that are really good options. Unless the quarterbacks that I've mentioned in today's video are going to be like good, suitable options for them. Like I said, Matthew Stafford might potentially go there, And then there's the New Orleans Saints. We don't know officially what the status of Drew Brees will be, since he lost 2 weeks ago in the divisional round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in his in New Orleans. So
They didn't understand that one.
we all didn't understand that one. He only threw like what?
You understood it. You was cheering for Tampa because you're your boy Brady.
Oh yeah. True. I forgot about that. So, but the way that Brees played in that game was a really big surprise, because he threw for like 1 or 2 touchdowns and only threw for like 3 interceptions out of 4 turnovers the Saints offense committed in that game against Tampa Bay in the divisional round. Yeah, not many people do, but I was like one of the few, because I rooted for Tampa because of my ex-QB Tom Brady. So whatever. But yeah, we don't know what his future will be. It hasn't been officially decided, but there's a looming scenario that he is likely going to retire probably after the Super Bowl. So yeah, so if that's possible. Plus, we don't know if Jameis Winston is going to go back to New Orleans. And I believe Taysom Hill is probably not is going to be a free agent too. So you're going to have 3 good, talented quarterbacks that are likely going to be gone from New Orleans as we all know it. So if I'm the Saints, I would have to make a decision on that as soon as possible if Drew Brees decides to retire. But if he has like another good year left in him, we'll just play it out. But you also got to think about it on how you want to build for the future. And you got to do it immediately, because you don't know how long the long-term effects we'll have if Breeze decides to hang it up. So, yeah. Yeah, it's this is going to be like a revolution of quarterbacks this offseason. So, we'll see what happens. And speaking of the Super Bowl, as we all know it, Tampa defeated Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field in the frozen tundra. Not many people could, but I was one of the few that predicted that they were going to win. And they did, but like a close margin in a way. But the biggest topic will be like, why did Matt Leflore decide to kick a field goal instead of going forward? Because you have another great all-time quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and yet you kick the field goal.
Apparently he didn't trust it.
Yeah, and that was a problem. Yeah, and that was the problem. So, if I were Leflore, I would clearly go for that one.
I don't think you can trust him because the defensive line kept shutting down Rodgers and his own line.
True. Even though he did have some big...
You didn't get no protection.
Yeah, even though he did have some big plays.
He had some big plays. He still didn't have no protection. Your secondary got you 3 picks.
Yeah.
You didn't capitalize on either one.
Yeah.
That O-line was getting bullied.
Yeah.
Which that's an understatement.
I mean...
Okay, I'm supposed to be shutting up now.
No, you can join in if you want to.
I was not trying to join in.
Well...
You started something.
Well, I thought you might want to join in on the conversation, so...
I was good.
Okay.
You forced the hand.
Right. Now... Yeah, she made some really good points. The secondary got 3 picks against Tom Brady, and yet the offense couldn't capitalize. So we can say the loss of their all-pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari, pretty much played a factor in Green Bay's O-line not getting the protection for Aaron Rodgers as they should have done. So you can play that, but... Oh. Damn. No, sorry about that. So, yeah, you can say that Bakhtiari's absence pretty much played a role in that in a way. But Tampa's defense has been like one of the biggest stories in the playoff years so far. They play like a complete unit. When Tom on the offense don't get it going, they step up and pick up the slack. So, and I'm really excited for this Super Bowl. You got the reigning defending champion Kansas City Chiefs back in the Super Bowl for the 2nd year in a row, looking to successfully defend their crown.
I can't believe I'm actually cheering for Tom Brady in this shit.
Yeah. Against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by the great Tom Brady, and of course, what's left of Rob Gronkowski. I hate to say that. And a good offense and a stout defense in the Super Bowl in Tampa, Florida. This is the first time in NFL history that a team will host a Super Bowl playing in it. So yeah, that's like a real big time home field advantage for the Bucs, for you to get that edge heading in for next Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it. Once again, I have Tampa Bay doing it. My mother, like she said, she can't believe that she's rooting for Tampa over Kansas City. Yeah, but then again, Kansas City is more of a complete team than we all expect. So even though the loss of Eric Fisher, their former number 1 overall pick.
Fuck that, I'm still bitter from last year.
Oh yeah, the Chiefs beat my mom's Niners in last year's Super Bowl, if y'all remember.
Of course they remember.
Yeah, like before the whole pandemic shit broke out. So, and of course after Kobe's passing. So, yeah. Considering the fact that no team has won back-to-back since Brady and his former club, the New England Patriots, did it back in the 03 and 04 season. No team has gone back-to-back since. But hell, Kansas City might break the mold, but it's any given Sunday. Anything can happen, so. Yeah. Anyways, that was like a lot to unpack here. Another baseball superstar getting traded. The revolution of quarterback movement may transition this offseason. And for me, I got Tampa Bay over Kansas City, and I hope they win, even though Kansas City's a dynamite team. And I'll go more on the Super Bowl in my next video when I can. So, with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure to hit that bell com button if you like this video, share it, and hit the like button. If you want to see more of my content, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification where you want to get my next video, and let me know what you think of what I've said in the comment section. So, with that being said, I'm Nick Johnson, your favorite sports YouTube journalist, and I'm out. Peace.